The fence wasn't enough. The Florida heat shimmered off the pavement like a mirage. Retired police officer Marcus D. King sat in the shade of his back porch, a glass of cold water in one hand, a book in the other, his peaceful retirement finally taking form after 28 years in law enforcement. But peace, as he'd come to learn, was fragile, especially when you're a black man in a gated neighborhood where people still see your skin before your soul. A splash. He heard it again. Not a bird. Not the wind. It was someone in his pool. Marcus leaned forward slowly, setting his glass down. His house, nestled in a quiet, upper-middle-class neighborhood, was surrounded by a tall privacy fence and a locked gate. The pool was his pride, a retirement gift to himself. No one had permission to be there. And yet, there she was. Again. Karen. He didn't know her real name. He didn't have to. Blonde, loud, entitled. A neighbor from 3 houses down who always found a reason to hover around his yard, checking property lines or walking her dog without a leash. But this time, she was floating in his pool again, in a red bikini, drink in hand, like it was hers. "You know you're trespassing," he said, arms folded as he stepped out. Karen looked at him lazily over her sunglasses. "Oh, relax, Marcus, it's just water. You weren't even using it." She had said this exact thing 3 weeks ago. That time, he gave her a warning. The second time, he installed a new lock. The third time, he called the HOA. And now it was time. But Karen didn't leave. She smiled, sipped her drink, and turned up the Bluetooth speaker she had brought. The bass thumped in his own backyard. His peace shattered. His patience worn thin. "I'm asking you again. Leave. Now." Karen stood, water dripping from her tanned arms, and said loud enough for the nearby neighbors to hear, "Are you threatening me? Is this how ex-cops treat women now?" He didn't blink. But inside, his heart pounded. He'd seen this play before. One word from her, and the story would flip. The aggressive black man threatening the innocent white woman. And that's exactly what she was setting up. He closed the gate behind him and walked back inside. Not because he was afraid, but because he was done playing defense. Karen stayed another 30 minutes, left her empty cup on his lawn chair, and walked out like it was her name on the deed. That night, Marcus sat at his desk and opened an old folder. It smelled like gun oil and ink. Inside, his badge, his service commendations, and his network. He pulled out his laptop and typed one word into a folder labeled "Do not use unless necessary." Karen.mp4. Yes, he had cameras. Yes, they had recorded everything. But this wasn't just about security anymore. This was about principle. The next morning, Karen was on her porch yelling at her landscaper about not cutting the lawn properly. Marcus calmly walked to her fence and placed an envelope in her mailbox. No return address. No note. Just a USB drive. Inside, 3 clips. Her climbing over his gate. Her using his pool without permission. Her accusing him of threatening her while clearly smiling at the camera. That afternoon, her husband's car wasn't in the driveway. That evening, her social media went dark. That night, someone rang Marcus's doorbell. It wasn't Karen. It was the OA president. "We've received complaints from her. But I've seen your footage. You're in the clear. And I'm sorry." Marcus didn't say a word. He just nodded. Because what Karen didn't know was, he wasn't just filming her, he was watching everyone. And if she came back again, she wouldn't just regret it, she'd remember it forever. The neighborhood turns. Marcus stood in the middle of his kitchen the next morning, watching the security feed on his monitor. Karen's face had been replaying in his mind like a looping tape. That smug smirk, that arrogance, that weaponized privilege. Why didn't I report her the first time? Because deep down, Marcus still wanted to believe in the system he once swore to protect. But now? Now the system was laughing at him from his own backyard. Suddenly, a buzz. His phone lit up with a notification: next door, new post in your neighborhood. He tapped it. Urgent: neighbor in Willow View caught filming women without consent. Totally inappropriate. We need to take action. Username: Karen loves golden doodles. He laughed bitterly. She was already spinning it. But what she didn't realize is that truth has receipts. He opened the post, and there it was. A blurred screenshot of her swimming in his pool, cropped to hide the fence and the sign that read private property, no trespassing. Dozens of comments were pouring in. If that's true, it's disgusting. He always gave me weird vibes. Isn't he ex-police? Even worse. He scrolled until one comment stopped him cold. My kids play near his house. This makes me uncomfortable. That comment had 45 likes. That night, Marcus didn't sleep. He walked around his house in the dark, every creak of the wood floor echoing like judgment. By morning, someone had egged his mailbox. By afternoon, 2 new complaints had been filed to the OA. By evening, a squad car pulled up in front of his house. "Mr. King? We're following up on a neighborhood dispute." Marcus kept his voice calm. "Do you have a warrant?" "No, sir. Just checking in." He offered them a flash drive. "Here, this is all you need to see." The younger cop hesitated. The older one nodded. They left 10 minutes later, quieter than they arrived. But the damage was done. The whispers started. People crossed the street when he walked. Neighbors who used to nod suddenly had urgent phone calls when passing his yard. Children who waved at his dog now avoided the fence entirely. And yet Karen still smiled like she owned the block. Until the weekend came. And Marcus had an idea. A quiet one. Legal, but unforgettable. He printed out 30 flyers. Attention, trespassing is a crime even in a bikini. Each flyer had a photo of Karen sitting on his pool steps smiling, drink in hand, time-stamped, with a line below. "This is not a joke. This is someone else's property." He didn't post them around town. He didn't put them online. He mailed one to every house on the block. On Sunday morning, lawn sprinklers turned on in perfect suburban rhythm. And so did the gasps. Mailboxes opened. Envelopes pulled. By 10 a.m., Karen's husband had packed a suitcase and left in an Uber. By 12 p.m., 2 other women had posted in defense of Marcus. By 2 p.m., Karen's profile on Nextdoor was gone. But Marcus wasn't done. He wasn't trying to destroy her. He was trying to show the neighborhood one thing. Justice doesn't always wear a badge. But just as the dust began to settle, a knock on the door. He opened it. A woman stood there, early 30s, curly hair, holding a file folder. "Mr. King? I'm Lisa Moreau. I'm an attorney and I represent 2 of your neighbors. They'd like to know if you're interested in filing a formal complaint. Because they've had enough of Karen, too." Marcus stared at her. And smiled, just slightly. "Come in. Let's talk. The case builds itself." Lisa sat across from Marcus at his kitchen table, flipping open a folder thick with paper. Legal documents, screenshots, printed HOA bylaws, all crisp and organized. "We've spoken to 5 neighbors so far," she said, sipping coffee. 2 were afraid to speak up, but all of them have stories. Marcus leaned back, arms crossed. "Stories about her?" "Yes, harassment, trespassing, even surveillance. She installed a motion cam pointed into someone's bedroom. They didn't report it because, well, look at what's happening to you. He sighed. Classic. Karen didn't operate alone. She operated under the silence of those too scared to be her next target. That evening, Marcus sat on the back porch again. This time, he wasn't watching for trespassers. He was watching for silence. Because for the first time in weeks, Karen's house was quiet. No shouting. No speakers. No giggling phone calls on speaker near his fence. But quiet can be deceptive. Especially when people like Karen are planning their next move. The next morning, the trap was laid. An email. From KarenFamilyLaw@gmail.com. I'm Marcus. I'm writing this privately because I don't want things to escalate. I think we've both made mistakes. I'd like to meet and resolve this amicably, just you and me. No lawyers. No drama. Can we be civil adults? He read it twice. Then again. And then he hit forward and sent it to Lisa. Her reply was 2 words. Don't respond. Lisa wasn't just any lawyer. She was a civil rights litigator. She had taken on real monsters before, and Karen was small league, but socially dangerous. The kind that ruins lives through whispers, not lawsuits. What she's doing, Lisa said the next day, is baiting you into a reaction. If she can't beat you with gossip, she'll try to trap you into losing your cool. Marcus nodded. Good thing I've already lost enough to know better. By the end of the week, something changed in the neighborhood. 3 neighbors invited Marcus to a block party. A little boy from across the street gave his dog a treat again. Someone mowed the front strip of his lawn unasked. It wasn't just support. It was realignment. Karen's power was slipping. But she wasn't done yet. That weekend, a black SUV parked across the street. 2 men in slacks and button-down shirts stood outside her gate, speaking in hushed tones. Marcus recognized one of them. HOA board member. They weren't just talking. They were planning. And on Monday, it dropped. A formal letter from the HOA. Due to multiple complaints and verifiable video evidence, your property has been cited for trespassing on neighboring lots, harassment, improper use of surveillance devices, public disturbances. It wasn't addressed to Marcus. It was addressed to Karen. That night, Karen was seen yelling on the phone in her driveway. The SUV returned.
The board met quietly. And by Friday, a new sign appeared in her yard. It's for sale. By owner. Marcus didn't smile. Not out loud. But inside, a calm returned he hadn't felt since the day he hung up his badge. Because this time, he didn't need a gun or a uniform or backup. It's just the truth. And a few neighbors who had finally had enough.
Her last card. The for sale sign in Karen's yard had become the neighborhood's quiet attraction. Cars slowed as they passed. Joggers lingered at the corner a little longer. People whispered. But not Karen. Karen had vanished from the streets. No more unsolicited yard visits. No more Bluetooth speakers. No more accidental walks through Marcus's property. It was the quiet before something. Marcus stood at the fence, hands in his pockets, watching the sunlight flicker across the pool water. He should have felt peace. But he didn't, because Karen wasn't gone. She was hiding. And that made her dangerous. That evening, as Marcus returned from the grocery store, a car cut in front of him and blocked his driveway. Karen stepped out. No smile this time. Hair tied tight, sunglasses off, eyes red. Marcus, we need to talk. He stayed in the car. Engine running. There's no need for this, Karen. You've made your choices. She stepped closer. Too close. You think you've won? You think this is over? You don't know me. He leaned out the window slowly. You're right, I don't. And I'm not interested in learning. That night, someone sprayed red paint across his garage. One word. A predator. Marcus didn't call the police. He called Lisa. She arrived in 20 minutes, armed with documents and intent. She's escalating, Lisa said. You have two options. File for a restraining order. Let me file a civil harassment suit. Marcus looked at the garage. At the dripping word. At the memories it pulled from him of arrests gone wrong, of false complaints during patrols, of years of being accused before being heard. No, not just civil. I want this on record. Permanently. They filed the next morning. Karen was served before noon. By 2 p.m., she posted on Facebook. I'm being targeted. My kids are scared. This isn't justice, it's reverse racism. Her post went viral. It was shared by a neighborhood watch account with 20,000 followers. The comments flooded in. Stay strong, Karen. They're trying to silence her. She's the real victim.
Marcus stared at the screen, jaw clenched. He knew that world too well. Not the internet. The manipulation. Because Karen's real skill wasn't being loud. It was being believable. But this time he had a plan. Lisa pulled out a flash drive. You ready to drop the tape? He nodded. They uploaded a 3-minute unedited video. Karen climbing over the locked fence. Her smiling as she drinks by the pool.
Her screaming, "Are you threatening me?" To no one. No music. No captions.
Just reality.
They titled it, What Really Happened at My Pool, Uncut Footage.
It spread like wildfire. By nightfall, her Facebook was flooded with backlash. The neighborhood watch page deleted its post. 3 users claiming to be former neighbors commented with their own stories. One message arrived in Marcus's inbox. She tried this in our old town too. You're not the first. Glad someone finally stood up to her. But the real moment came the next morning. A reporter knocked on his door. Sir, would you be willing to comment for a story we're doing on highway conflicts and racial profiling in suburban America? Marcus paused. He wasn't looking for attention. He just wanted quiet. But maybe, just maybe, this story needed to be louder. I'll speak. But only on the record.
Going public. Marcus hadn't worn a collared shirt in weeks. But today, as the news van pulled into his driveway, he buttoned one slowly, deliberately. He wasn't dressing up for them. He was dressing up for the truth. The reporter stepped out, accompanied by a small crew. Polite, respectful, curious but cautious. Mr. King, thank you again for agreeing to this interview. We just want the facts from your perspective. He smiled faintly. You'll get nothing but. They filmed on the back porch. The pool glistened behind him, now a symbol, not a sanctuary. Marcus recounted it all. The first accidental intrusion. The false accusations. The smear campaign online. The neighborhood's silence, then slow awakening. He didn't cry. He didn't shout. But when he spoke about the word painted on his garage, his voice cracked. They called me a predator. When all I did was sit on my own porch. That night, the segment aired on the local 6 o'clock news. Then it was uploaded to YouTube. Then picked up by a national Instagram page called Suburban Exposes. And within 48 hours, it hit 1.2 million views. the tide turned fast. Support flooded in. Former officers who had faced similar citizen complaints. Black homeowners recounting suspicious neighbor incidents. Even white allies who admitted they had once looked the other way. And then came the twist Marcus didn't expect. A voicemail. "Hi, this is Sarah Donnelly. I'm Karen's former coworker. I saw your story. She did something similar to our boss years ago. If you need a statement, I'm here." The next morning, Karen's for sale sign was gone, replaced with a realtor's lockbox. She wasn't just leaving. She was forced out. And the neighborhood? It didn't even blink. As if the block had collectively exhaled. Marcus, meanwhile, sat in silence. Everyone wanted to congratulate him. But he wasn't sure he felt victorious, because the truth is, winning a war you never asked to fight doesn't feel like triumph. It feels like exhaustion.
He visited the garage. The red paint had been cleaned. But the word was still in his mind. So he painted over the entire wall new coat, fresh color. And above the door frame, he stenciled a phrase. "Peace is earned, not given." One day later, a package arrived.
No return address. Just a brown envelope.
Inside,
Or a handwritten letter.
a check for $5,000. Single sentence. I'm sorry, I thought I could win. I never realized you weren't playing. No signature. But Marcus knew the handwriting. He burned the letter in his fire pit. He mailed the check back, unsigned, because Karen thought regret could be purchased. But Marcus, he knew better. He didn't want revenge. He wanted peace. And finally it had arrived.
The ripple effect. Marcus stood in the yard under the evening sun, a hose in one hand, watering the flowers that lined the fence Karen once climbed. The water shimmered like silver thread, catching the orange light. For the first time in months, he felt the silence as comfort, not a warning. There were no lawsuits pending. No angry knocks. No news vans or whispers. Just the slow return of a life he'd nearly forgotten how to enjoy. The garage wall was dry now. He had added one more phrase beneath the painted quote. "The truth needs no defense, just patience." People noticed. Neighbors asked about it. Some even apologized. Not for what they did, but for what they didn't. "I should have said something. I saw her act that way and stayed quiet. You didn't deserve that." Marcus nodded politely. He wasn't collecting guilt. He was collecting clarity. One afternoon, a little girl rang his bell. He recognized her, Karen's niece, who had often come to visit. She looked nervous. "Hi, my aunt's gone. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for how she was. She told me things that weren't true." He crouched down. "It's okay, sweetheart. I hope you know that your voice matters, even when adults tell you it doesn't." She smiled, handed him a small card, and ran off. Inside was a crayon drawing. A pool. A man smiling. A dog sleeping. No fences, no words, just peace. That night, Marcus sat on the porch and closed his eyes. And for the first time in what felt like years, he remembered something good. Flashback 12 years earlier. Midnight patrol.
A kid hoodie, bike, wrong side of town. Marcus pulled up. What are you doing out here?" The kid flinched, held up a broken chain. "Just walking at home, I got jumped." Marcus believed him. Gave him a ride. Bought him a soda on the way. The kid looked at him through the rearview mirror. You're not like the other cops. Marcus hadn't thought about that moment in years, but tonight it returned like a message. He had always been fighting two battles. It's the one in front of him, and the one behind his badge. Now, he wasn't fighting at all. Just living. But the world wasn't done. Not yet. 2 weeks later, another knock at the door. A woman. Early 40s. Business suit, nervous smile. Mr. King, I'm with the County Oversight Committee. Your story reached the DA's office. We're creating a task force for unjust profiling and community retaliation. And we want you on the board. Marcus blinked. Yeah? Why me? Me. Because you didn't scream. You proved you didn't burn things down. You built something up. He didn't answer right away. He looked out at the pool. The same pool that once made him feel trapped. Now, it felt like a mirror. Still, honest, reflective. He turned back to her. Let's do it. And as she walked away, he sat back down in his porch chair. Dog curled up beside him. He didn't need Karen gone. He needed himself back. And now he was. It's the end. The end.